This is the final battle in the Wolf Flash finals between Diplomatt and Masterbean. I met Masterbean in the first battle. He beat me. He picked Arverni, I picked the Egyptian Kingdom for fun and a short battle, and it was a short battle. It was a fun battle, but Masterbean ended up winning that one. So he advanced all the way to the finals, which was pretty cool, I think, because I've watched Masterbean from the beginning of his tournament career, and he has really improved both in terms of army composition and micro. He still makes mistakes, of course, like everyone does, but the thing is, if you know that you're a player like myself, I'm a player, I know that I'm prone to making mistakes and not having the best micro. So if I am to do well, I know that my army has to be on point. And it seems like Masterbean has made that realization as well. He's picking some solid armies here, and it's paying off for him. So he is commanding Rome against the Suebi of Diplomatt. Suebi versus Rome, a great matchup, a classical matchup. One that, unfortunately for Diplomatt, is heavily slanted towards Rome. Suebi just cannot kill enough Roman infantry fast enough for the insanely high melee attack of Roman infantry to start hurting Suebi. But anyway, 8 Roman infantry units here, no Hastati. So we have 6 Evocati cohorts and 2 Legionary cohorts. The Evocati do exceptionally well, the Legionary cohort, they struggle. Then we have auxiliary infantry on the flanks, which is an interesting choice. Normally you would see Vigiles. Then we have auxiliary cavalry, legionary cavalry, auxiliary cavalry, legionary cavalry, legatus, and I think I'll just talk a bit more about the Roman army afterwards. So Diplomatt's army consists of the Germanic scout riders, of course. Here we have some Germanic slingers, 4 Germanic slingers, swordmasters, club levy in the center, Bloodthorn on the flanks, Woden spears behind the club levy, and then we have some berserkers way off in the rear, Wodenas on the flanks. So Ariovistus, of course, is the general of choice for Suebi and Diplomatt. The thing is, though, when he uses Ariovistus, it's not going to be able to, the way he's deployed, it's not going to be able to hit all of the most essential units, because Woden spears will not do well against Evocati unless they are able to get their fast charges off. And the way Masterbean is deployed here, double line infantry, he's fairly safe from the Suebi cavalry. There isn't any melee cavalry anyway, and you would expect no melee cavalry from Suebi, because the melee cavalry from Suebi is either very expensive or very fragile. And against Rome, taking the cavalry fight with cavalry doesn't make sense. It makes sense bringing these Germanic scout riders, and it makes sense bringing spear units, but there are no spear levies here. And that kind of worries me, because the Wodenas, if we just pause it a bit, because this is going to be a very quick engagement, I think. Not pause it, but just have it in slow motion. So there are 4 Wodenas spears, there are 2 swordmasters, and 2 berserkers. So that's a total of 8 good infantry units. And then you have kind of 2 decent Bloodthorn and 2 club levy, but a Bloodthorn isn't going to be able to defeat an Evocati on their own. So 2 of these units kind of have to engage, and that leaves Diplomatt's flanks wide open for the Roman cavalry, and I think that might be a problem for him with all these skirmishers. Now, what's good about these skirmishers is that Diplomatt has the ability, if he wants to skirmish, pull back, skirmish, pull back. And that way, if he manages to bring down even a few Evocati, it could make it a lot easier to break that unit when he uses his fast charge. So with all of these skirmishers, Diplomatt actually has, let's see, I think he has 5 skirmishers. I think there's a Germanic bow here. Since he has all of those skirmishers, ideally he wants to use them as much as possible before the main engagement starts, and when he can use his Wodenas spears to defend against cavalry units. Because once these Wodenas are engaged, the cavalry can basically go and wreak havoc in the backlines. And also, like over here, club levy, a fast charge is popped, by the way, in the center. Rome is pulling away. But the auxiliary cavalry, it looks like they're trying to go for the center here. This is Miss Micro by Masterbean, by the way, because his auxiliary cavalry is about to get charged by fast charge Wodenas spears. They don't get a charge themselves, they don't get any kills, and the Wodenas slaughter a very expensive unit. However, the Swordmasters here, they do not get a good charge. They get interrupted, they get sort of blocked by the club levy here, and this is very dangerous for Diplomatt. Because look what happened. The auxiliary cavalry now has free reign of the backlines. The berserkers are too far away, and this Evocati cohort, the Evocati cohort took the charge from the club levy, and now this Evocati cohort is about to charge the Swordmasters. This is disastrous for the Swordmasters. To be completely honest, they should pull out now. Because the berserkers are not supporting any fights, they're running after the auxiliary cavalry here. And these berserkers are about to support, but you'll see the Swordmasters drop incredibly quickly when attacked by two Evocati units. Seen this happen so many times that a barbarian general gets overconfident, he gets used as frontline infantry, and if two Evocatis attack a Swordmaster, look at what happens to the Swordmaster. He gets the attacked in the rear penalty, he's not in shield wall, he hasn't used pride yet, and it just gets absolutely destroyed while only having 30 kills. So that's how important it is getting good charges with the barbarians. The Wodenas spear flanks starting to crumble, and they're getting charged by Evocati cohorts here, trying to get the charge out, but they just cannot hang with Evocatis. They can hang with the legionary cohort somewhat, especially if they have the support of berserkers. So the berserkers are getting some kills here, but not before the Suebi general might die at any point. The Suebi skirmishers being chased away here. Bloodsorn and berserkers, infantry killing specialists, are having to chase away cavalry, while the Wodenas spears have been losing on the flanks versus infantry. So this is not good for Diplomatt. The Swordmaster general is off the field. It doesn't seem like he's dead just yet, so the morale penalty isn't going to hit. But there's a lot of Roman infantry left. The auxiliary infantry chasing after the Germanic scout riders. The auxiliary infantry, they're just going to get absolutely slaughtered by Bloodsorn and berserkers. They are a bit expensive for what they can do. Very low melee attack, very low weapon damage, no precursors. An underwhelming unit. But the longbow hunters getting routed off the field here. And basically the entire Suebi infantry line has just lost. The Wodenas spears are tanky units, so they're holding out. But it's just barely. And this was a classic Rome-Suebi matchup, where, I mean, Rome just, once engagements start becoming messy, the Roman infantry just excels to an epic degree. Like the Evocati with their now 64 melee attack will chew through a lot of units very quickly. So there's not much Suebi can do here, just being chased away by the Roman infantry. So I know a lot of people think that under rules like these that limit melee infantry, that presence being popped here to increase the recharge rate of abilities for the Roman units, it doesn't really matter at this point. But I know a lot of people think that under these rules, Suebi is a very powerful faction. To a certain extent, yes, they can be, but that is under optimal conditions, because once things start going just a little bit against the strengths of Suebi, then it's very hard. And one of the weaknesses that has been very pronounced in this battle is the inability of Suebi to counter cavalry directly with their own cavalry. If they then use their Wodenas spears to counter infantry, that means that these dedicated melee units that only have 15 weapon damage have to start chasing cavalry, and that puts Suebi in a losing situation. And there's a lot of Rome left on the field here. One unit of Bloodsorn left now. Army losses starting to make themselves felt for Suebi, and even the berserkers are wavering, and that's a good sign that your that the rest of your army isn't going to stay in the fight for long when the berserkers break. So last charge here of the legionary cohorts into the Bloodsorn, and that's it. Masterbean takes it, so congratulations to Masterbean. The highest performing Suebi unit, a Bloodsorn. A bit of a problem there for Suebi. Basically all of the Roman infantry gets some kills, pulls a bit of weight. The auxiliary infantry don't do too well. The auxiliary cavalry didn't do too well. They were mismanaged, but it sort of works out for Rome, even though the auxiliary cavalry was mismanaged, because Rome had the melee cavalry to chase away the skirmishers. The skirmishers didn't do too much, and the swordmasters, 64, 48 kills, not an impressive performance by the swordmasters. And this battle is a very good example of where the shortcomings of Suebi makes them difficult to use against a faction like Rome. Their melee infantry has a huge gap between the swordmasters and these infantry killing specialist units, and Suebi just lacks the sturdiness to stand up to a faction like Rome. They have to break Rome almost instantly, but once Rome starts having multiple lines of infantry and Suebi starts getting charged instead of getting the charges in, then the fragileness of Suebi is really, really apparent. So the Wodenas didn't do too well either. They did a good job in killing up some auxiliary cavalry, but then in the infantry fight they just will not perform well against Roman infantry. They don't have the armor penetrating values that the Thorax hoplites, the mercenary veteran hoplites have, or the Illyrian noble hoplites, and even those units do struggle to a significant degree against the high melee attack of the Roman infantry. So that's it, the finals done of the Wolf Flash tournament. Although there were some standard barbarian brawls, I still enjoy these very stylistic battles with the sort of the desperate rush of the Suebi and against the sturdiness of Rome. But usually, you very rarely see Suebi coming out on top against Rome. It's just Rome is just too solid of a faction. Too well-rounded. Rome can counter basically everything that Suebi can do, and you need a perfect Ariovistus charge almost against a single line of Roman infantry, and then you can win. So anyway, that was it. Strength and honor.